Joining us now is Shai Akabas. I hope I got that right. Director of Fiscal Policy at the Bipartisan Policy Center. Did I?
Very close.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us anyway. President Trump's budget is slashing the size of government, as we just saw. Eliminates entire agencies, includes money for the wall, increases spending for defense. How much weight should we give this? Is it going to go anywhere?
So there's two important things, I think, for our viewers to understand that were briefly mentioned in the coverage. So first, this is not a budget proposal. This is the president's outline for what he wants to do with the domestic and defense spending in the budget that is appropriated on an annual basis.
And in May, what will happen?
That will be the rest of the outline that he proposes, and that'll be hopefully the full budget. So then we will see programs like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid.
Which he said he won't touch.
Right. And the tax side of the equation included. And that's when you get the complete picture of the budget. So that's the first element. The second is that this is a proposal from the president to the Congress as to what his priorities are. And I think it's much more indicative of that than a guidepost of what we're actually going to see get enacted.
Because a lot of people are talking about all of these programs that could potentially help the poor being cut. What you're saying is this is a guidepost.
Right. That doesn't mean that this is going to happen. This is how the president has outlined what his priorities are. And Congress, we've already seen some reaction from certainly Democrats, but also several Republicans who are concerned about the magnitude of some of these cuts. For example, the State Department, 31% cut, which I know you mentioned, and that has brought a lot of criticism from folks who believe that that will negatively impact our defense position internationally.
Of course, and I think that other countries are going to have to pick up more of the bill for things like the United Nations and the World Bank. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. If we pull back to the scale that he's talking about from various international organizations, that would leave somebody else needing to pick up the tab.
But the Congress really is, in the end, the final arbiter of the budget. How much support can the White House expect from Congress on this?
So there's certainly support among many Republicans for reducing the scope of the government as a whole and for increasing defense spending. There are several conservatives who are actually concerned that the defense spending increase is not significant enough. And then there are others, maybe more falling on
Not significant enough, $54 billion.
So it depends what level you measure it from. So that's an important element of this. But I think what's, in the broad scheme of things, the Defense Department has actually been restrained in recent years because of what's called the sequester caps that were put in place about 5 years ago.
By the Obama administration.
Correct, and in a deal with the Republican Congress. And so what we have now is actually a Defense Department that is below its historical average as a percentage of the economy. And so these increases are not, by historical standards, that large. So there are some defense hawks that think they're not actually large enough. But on the domestic side of things, I think you see some cuts here that are at best unrealistic and at worst counterproductive and damaging, because cuts like $200 million to the IRS budget,
right.
We already have a large gap in what we collect in taxes versus what we're supposed to be collecting. And if you further reduce their manpower, that's only going to get bigger.
All right. Thank you so much, Shai
Akabas.
Akabas, Director of Fiscal Policy at the Bipartisan Policy Center. Thanks for joining us.